AITA for exposing my sister's years of cruel body shaming and manipulation at a family dinner, which led to her engagement being called off. Hey Reddit, I've been debating posting this for months, trying to process everything that's happened. My family dynamic has always been complex. Now, it's completely shattered, and I'm genuinely struggling with whether I crossed a line, even though I felt utterly justified at the time. I really need some outside perspectives on this mess. I'm Lily, 28F. I'm now a mom to an incredible 18-month-old daughter, Amelia. My husband, David, 30M, is my absolute rock, and our little family is the best thing that ever happened to me. Then there is my older sister, Rose, 33F. Rose has always been the favored child, the free spirit, the one who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. She's charming, outwardly confident, and has this knack for making people feel special, especially our parents. I, on the other hand, was always the quieter, more practical one. My achievements were acknowledged, but never celebrated with the same fanfare as Rose's. My concerns were often brushed aside as overthinking. This favoritism was a constant, subtle hum in the background of our lives, creating a quiet tension that always existed between us. Despite this, I always hoped we could have a real, supportive sisterly bond. Especially when big life events came around. When David and I found out we were expecting our first child, it was a moment of immense joy and a little bit of terror. We had been trying for a while, and it felt like a dream come true. We shared the news with our families, expecting nothing but excitement and well wishes. David's family was over the moon. My parents were happy, of course, but then Rose's reaction came. It wasn't immediate vitriol. It was subtle at first, insidious. "Oh, Lily," she'd say, a pitying look on her face, "are you sure you're ready for this? You're so young. Aren't you throwing away your youth? Settling for domestic bliss?" Her tone implied that domestic bliss was a polite term for mediocrity, a gilded cage I was willingly stepping into. She'd make little digs about me losing my identity to diapers and baby food. She prided herself on being child-free, spontaneous, and unburdened, and my pregnancy seemed to be a personal affront to her lifestyle choices. As my belly grew, her comments escalated. "Wow, Lily, you're really showing now, huh," she'd say, dragging out the really with thinly veiled disgust. Or, "Are you sure you're eating healthy? You don't want to become one of those moms who just lets herself go." These weren't jokes, they were calculated barbs, designed to hit where it hurt most, my changing body, my vulnerability, my burgeoning motherhood. Her comments turned into a full-blown campaign of emotional abuse disguised as tough love or sisterly concern. She'd send me articles about celebrity moms who bounced back immediately, or memes about frumpy moms who forgot how to dress. Each one was a direct hit to my growing insecurities. Pregnancy is a time of immense physical and emotional change, and I was already feeling overwhelmed and a little self-conscious. Rose's constant commentary made me feel grotesque, unattractive, and inadequate. She even started gossiping about me to mutual friends and extended family. "Lily's really let herself go," I heard through a cousin. "She's already so huge, imagine what she'll look like after. I hope David still finds her attractive." Or, "I'm worried about Lily. She's so stressed about the baby, I don't think she's ready for motherhood. It's really changing her." She was actively planting seeds of doubt, not just about my appearance, but about my very readiness for this new chapter, subtly turning people against me. I started avoiding family gatherings, feeling isolated and judged, not just by her, but by the echoes of her whispered cruelty. My once anticipated pregnancy became a source of public shame thanks to her. David saw it, and it infuriated him. He tried to confront her gently, telling her comments were hurtful, but Rose would just shrug it off with, "Oh, David, you're just being overprotective. It's just sisterly banter. Lily knows I love her." And my parents, ever the peacemakers, would chime in with, "Rose means well, Lily. She's just worried about you." Their constant enabling of her behavior was a huge part of the problem. They never truly held her accountable, always prioritizing family harmony, which usually meant Rose getting her way, over my feelings. The breaking point came at my baby shower. It was supposed to be a joyous occasion, a celebration of new life with my closest friends and family. My mom had insisted Rose be involved, despite my reservations. Rose arrived late, of course, stumbling half an hour after the shower officially started, already clearly intoxicated. She made a grand entrance, drawing all eyes to her. Instead of wishing me well, she immediately gravitated towards me, her eyes sweeping over my heavily pregnant frame. "Wow, Lily," she slurred, her voice loud enough for several guests to hear. "You really embraced the pregnancy weight, didn't you? You look like you swallowed a whale. Are you sure you're having just one baby?" She poked my belly with a manicured finger, then laughed, a high, piercing sound. "And that dress? Really? It's not doing you any favors, sweetie. You should just wear a tent at this point." The comments were like daggers. Public, vicious, and utterly humiliating. I felt my face flush, my eyes sting with tears. I excused myself as quickly as I could, stumbling into the nearest bathroom, where I locked the door and dissolved into silent, heartbroken sobs. I felt utterly defeated, stripped bare, and completely alone. David, however, was not silent. He had overheard Rose's comments and seen the tears in my eyes as I fled. He waited until I was safely in the bathroom, then he walked straight up to Rose, his face a mask of cold fury. I only heard snippets from the bathroom, but it was enough. "Rose," he said, his voice low and dangerous, "you are out of line. You have absolutely no right to speak to my wife that way. Get out." Rose, drunk and indignant, started to protest. "Oh, here comes Mr. Protector. So sensitive. It was just a joke. Lily knows I love her." "You're ruining the party, David." "No," David retorted, "you ruined it. Get out. Now." Their voices escalated. My parents rushed over, trying to defuse the situation, siding with Rose, telling David he was overreacting. But David stood his ground. Eventually, Rose, amidst dramatic tears and accusations of everyone being too sensitive and ganging up on her, made a very public, very loud exit. The shower, meant to be a celebration, ended awkwardly, overshadowed by her cruel outburst. Months passed. Amelia was born, a beautiful, healthy baby. Rose kept her distance after the shower incident, thankfully. I focused on motherhood, healing, and trying to forget her cruel words. Then, about a year after Amelia was born, something shifted. We heard through the grapevine that Rose had met someone new, a businessman named Daniel, 34M. He came from a very traditional, family-oriented background. He seemed genuinely smitten with Rose, and Rose, in turn, seemed changed. Suddenly, her behavior towards me did a complete 180. She started reaching out. Texting me regularly, asking how Amelia was, how I was. She started showing up at my parents' house when I was there, bringing Amelia expensive toys and designer baby clothes, things Rose herself couldn't afford on her own, clearly bought with Daniel's money. She showered me with affection, gave me compliments, even posted gushing tributes about me on social media, calling me the best sister and mom ever. It felt insincere, performative, like she was playing a role. She even started acting genuinely interested in my life, asking about my work and my hobbies, which she hadn't done in years. I kept my guard up. I knew Rose. This sudden shift felt too convenient, too perfect. My suspicions were confirmed when I started seeing pictures of Amelia pop up on Rose's social media. Pictures Rose had clearly taken during our brief, supervised visits, pictures she had no right to post without my permission. She was captioning them with saccharine messages about her beautiful niece and family is everything. It was clear she was using Amelia, and me, to craft a new image for Daniel and his family, the loving, family-focused aunt and sister. The real test came when my parents announced a family dinner. Daniel would be there. It was his first time meeting the whole extended family. My parents were beaming, clearly hoping Rose's new, improved persona would shine. Rose was practically glowing, playing the doting sister to perfection throughout appetizers. As the main course was served, and Daniel was charming everyone with stories about his family, I looked at Rose. She was smiling, laughing, playing the part of the perfect, loving sister and daughter. And a wave of cold clarity washed over me. All those years of her cruelty, her body shaming, her active attempts to undermine me, it was all being swept under the rug for her convenience, her new image. My parents were enabling it, as always, prioritizing the facade over the deep hurt I had endured. I knew this was my moment. My chance to speak my truth, not just for myself, but for the younger me who had cried in the bathroom at her baby shower, who had felt ugly and inadequate because of Rose's relentless cruelty. I took a deep breath. "Rose," I said, my voice cutting through the dinner chatter, calm but firm. It's so lovely to see you so happy with Daniel. He seems like a wonderful man. And it's so nice to finally have you show genuine interest in me and Amelia. After all these years. Rose's smile faltered. My parents looked at me, a flicker of nervous understanding in their eyes. Daniel, sensing a shift, politely paused his conversation. What do you mean, Lily? Rose asked, a strained quality in her voice. I've always been interested in you. You know that. Really? I raised an eyebrow. Because I seem to remember a lot of comments about my weight during my pregnancy. About me swallowing a whale. About my tent dress. And articles about frumpy moms you just had to share with me. Should I remind everyone of those? Rose's face went white. My parents looked mortified. Daniel looked confused, turning his gaze between Rose and me. Lily, that's enough, my mom interjected, trying to shut me down. No, Mom, I said, my voice firm. It's not. For years, Rose has made me feel like garbage. She actively tried to undermine my self-esteem and my joy. And now, because she has a new boyfriend who values family, she's suddenly playing the role of the loving sister? It's sickening. I then pulled out my phone. I had screenshot a few of the worst texts Rose had sent me during my pregnancy. I took a deep breath and began to read them aloud, my voice shaking with raw emotion. Here's one, sent a week before my baby shower. Seriously, Lily, you look like you're about to pop. Maybe lay off the carbs, you're going to regret it after. David will run away. And here's another, right after I had Amelia. Don't even try to wear a swimsuit for a year, you earned that stretch mark badge of honor, honey. Enjoy your new mom bod. The silence in the room was absolute. My parents stared at me, then at Rose, their faces pale. Rose was openly weeping, her carefully constructed facade crumbling before everyone's eyes. Her tears, for once, didn't feel manipulative, they felt like panic. Daniel, Rose's fiancé, looked utterly shocked. He stared at Rose, then back at me, his face a mixture of confusion and dawning realization. He slowly pushed his chair back from the table. Excuse me, he mumbled, his voice tight. He stood up and walked away from the table, heading towards the restrooms, clearly needing a moment. Rose immediately turned on me, her tears turning to rage. You ruined everything. You did this on purpose. You're jealous. You're evil. I just sat there, exhausted, but with a strange mix of relief and guilt. Relief that the truth was finally out, that I had finally spoken my piece. Guilt for the public spectacle, for potentially ruining Rose's new relationship. For weeks after the dinner, Rose didn't contact me. I didn't expect her to. My parents, however, were on my case constantly. Not to apologize for letting Rose treat me that way, but to accuse me of being vindictive and destroying the family. They tried to pressure me into apologizing to Rose and to Daniel, telling me I had ruined her life. I just kept repeating, I spoke my truth. Her actions led to this. Then, about a month later, I got a call from Rose. Her voice was flat, devoid of its usual theatrics. Daniel called off the engagement, she said. He said he couldn't marry someone who could be so cruel. He said he didn't recognize the person I was at the dinner. A wave of complex emotions hit me. Guilt, sharp and sudden, for potentially ruining her future. But underneath it, a quiet, almost unsettling sense of vindication. She finally faced a consequence that her charm and our parents' enabling couldn't fix. My parents were furious. They doubled down on blaming me, saying I was selfish and had driven Daniel away. They insisted I go apologize to Rose, saying it was my fault she lost her fiancé. The pressure was immense. I was wrestling with the guilt, feeling the weight of my parents' disapproval, when something unexpected happened. About 2 weeks after Rose's call, Daniel called me. I almost didn't answer, fearing more accusations. But his voice was calm, almost kind. Lily, he said, I just wanted to tell you. I don't blame you. I was stunned. You don't? No, he replied. What you did was hard, but it was honest. And what you said, it made me look closer. Rose's comments about you, about other people, they weren't isolated. Her critical nature, her need to control the narrative, it extends to everything. She would put down her own friends, subtly, make little digs. I realized she would do it to me too, eventually. And she did, sometimes, when she thought I wasn't listening. You just made it undeniable. He went on to say that Rose had tried to lie, tried to spin the story, but he'd seen the genuine anguish in my eyes, heard the specific details. He realized her constant perfect facade was just that, a facade. This conversation was a lifeline for me. It helped me realize that I was not responsible for Rose's actions or the consequences that followed. Daniel's validation was everything. It helped me shed the guilt my parents were trying to heap on me. Empowered by this newfound clarity, I decided to confront Rose one last time, without anger, just with boundaries. I called her. Rose, I said, I'm not apologizing for what I did at your party. You created that situation. Your actions, your lies, your cruelty, they led to that moment. I spoke my truth. I will not take blame for your choices, or for Daniel calling off the engagement. That is on you. She started to protest, to cry, to manipulate. And, I continued, cutting her off gently but firmly, until you get real help for your issues, until you genuinely acknowledge the harm you've done, and until you can truly apologize to me without excuses, you will not be a part of Amelia's life. I will not allow my daughter to be exposed to the kind of emotional abuse and manipulation that I grew up with. My family, David, Amelia, and me, we are my priority now. She hung up on me. My parents, of course, are still angry, still calling me cruel, still trying to push me to reconcile. But I'm holding firm. My journey through this has been painful, but ultimately, liberating. I finally stood up for myself. I finally called out the toxic dynamic that had plagued my life for decades. And I finally put my own well-being, and my daughter's safety, first. The future of my relationship with Rose is uncertain. I don't know if she'll ever genuinely change, if she'll ever truly apologize. For now, I'm focusing on my own family, on healing, and on building a life free from the emotional scars of the past. It's hard, but it's worth it. So, Reddit, after all of this, for exposing Rose's past, for the public confrontation that broke her engagement, was I the asshole? AITA?